practitioners become the best in our field. And that is called stakeholder consultation. We all know the contribution that these stakeholders that we work with have in the organization, and we cannot underestimate their contribution, okay? And in order to have a good health and safety strategy, you don't need to sideline them. They need to be inclusive in our planning. And then we have lack of stakeholder consultation, resulting in companies being shut down and recording high levels of accidents and all of that in the organization, and some pay fines and so on. So this time we want to use this moment to refresh our minds on the importance of stakeholder consultation. But before I go into my presentation, let me actually share a practical example how stakeholder consultation helped former organization from being shut down. All right. So you were on a project where we had to do an expansion. And as part of the expansion, it was going to cut, we are going to have to cut a section of the road and then reconstruct it later on. And then we did our risk assessment. The engineers also came up with their drawings and all of that. And then we invited the telecommunication companies, the Ghana Water Company Limited, ECG, and so on and so forth to come and check if we have any service lines beneath where the project was going to be carried out. And then after that, we went to the district assembly and then showed them our plan and our intention. And they also delegated a member to come to the site to validate what we have done, checking our risk assessment, and then how we are going to control traffic, because I said we're going to cut a part of the main road. And then he validated it. So later, we also went to the traditional council where we introduced ourselves to them and then the project we're going to embark on, just to have. And as part of tradition, they delegated the member to come to the site and pour libation, because where the road was, there was a bridge which was a main passage for one of these rivers in Ghana that has names. So as a way of appeasing the gods, to support us in the project, they have to come and pour libation. So in this case, the gods were part of the stakeholders. All right, so after that, we then went on to the radio station, 4 popular radio stations, and then announced it for a period of 2 weeks so that we can notify the general public on our incoming project and how it was going to affect them. And then the diversion we have created for them to be using during that short while that we'll be closing the main road. So the project started, and then one time a high-profile personality stormed our site, quite furious that the road had been closed. And then he needs to check our documentation to see if we have done the right thing, else he was going to call up the whole project. So it was good that we had all these documentations to show him, to prove that we have done our due diligence with the project, and then we were able to continue. So that is to emphasize that stakeholder consultation is very, very important. And for us as health and safety practitioners, and for the organization that we are working with, we can't do away with it. So today, let's look at our objective for this webinar. We shall be looking at what stakeholder consultation is, who are our stakeholders, why stakeholder consultation is necessary, and how effective stakeholder consultation could be conducted. All right, so we want to look at who stakeholders are. My first definition says that anyone who affects or is affected by the organization. This is so true. So now we want to look at, if you can go back to the case study or what I just shared early on. We were going to cut a part of the road, construct, to reconstruct it later, and then it was going to impede on the traffic flow at that point in time. So at this point, the people who are affected, and then the people who affect these decision makings were outlined, and then we made sure that we consulted all of them to get their support and buy-in before carrying out our project. So this is very important. So in order for us to know who our stakeholders should be, we need to consider the people who affect or are affected by our decision that we will make in the organization. The second one by Stanford Research Institute, which I like very much, is an internal or external member without whose support the organization will cease to exist. This is very true and right on top of, I'm hitting the nail right on top of the head. If the regular employee in your organization doesn't support you, or they cease to work in your organization, would you still be in operation? If the community within which you operate say that, you are impacting our community negatively, so you need to move, would your organization cease to, would your organization still continue? So that also tells us that these people, we need their support in order to make sure that we keep running as an organization. Okay, so let's look at what stakeholder consultation is. And please take note of these keywords. It is a process of gathering and exchanging information and opinions with key persons. So here, the key persons here are the people that matter for that particular period in time. And using the information that you gather to potentially influence what needs to be done in the organization and how things are going to be done. Okay, so having this understanding, let's look at who are our stakeholders. So the first that we can't do without is the government. In Ghana, I can mention a couple of agencies that are representing the government.
Yes, sir.
Hello? Is someone asking a question?
Please go ahead, Sadat. Just ignore that. Go ahead.
Okay. So we can't do away with the government. The government has regulations concerning every sector, and it is up to the organizations to look at what regulations are applicable, and we need to comply with that. So in Ghana, we can talk about the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency. And this agency, what they do is whenever you're going to set up a project, they need to, you need to assess the socioeconomic impact that is going to have on the environment, and then your control measures. So until that is done, the EPA wouldn't issue their certificate or wouldn't give you their go-ahead to operate as an organization. The Ghana Police Service, the National Fire Service, the Minerals Commission, the Department of Factories Inspectorate. I can go on and on and on. All right, so this is some organizations in Ghana that I can mention because I can speak for Ghana. I know that we have other nationalities online. We have Nigerians, maybe Irish. So can somebody share with us some of the organizations in Nigeria that one can consult before start setting up as an organization? Anyone from Nigeria? Or any other nationality? Please go ahead and then share with us.
I believe we've got people from Nigeria online that can give us, let's see, who's out. Emeka, do you want to share with us who you consult with in Nigeria? Emeka. Then maybe after Emeka, we've got one, I believe we've got someone from, and we could talk to from Whitney as well, might be able to share with us from their country what they do. Emeka, are you there? Emeka? Daniel? Do you want us to help us out? Who do you consult with? Or we can go to Nuruddin. Someone from Nigeria should be able to tell us who they consult with. Someone has shared with us in Ghana who they consult with. I know, for example, that in Nigeria, people talk to DPR in the oil and gas sector. They consult with DPR. They do consult with environmental agencies as well. Kenneth, Kenneth, I believe you're going to be from either South Africa or a Southern African country. Kenneth, who do you consult with in your country? Kenneth. Kenneth, are you there?
Okay. Maybe they want to, if you also want to use the chat box, please feel free to do that. Okay. Happy to know who you consult with. In the governmental agencies you consult with, Nigeria, South Africa, Ivory Coast, and so on and so forth. Please use the chat box. Let me know. Okay, I'll be glad to learn. Okay, so moving on. We also have the employees that are actually doing the job. We are getting a feedback from someone. If you don't mind muting. Okay, so the employees who are in the organization. So here we have the supervisors, the artisans, and artisans, we are looking at the regular laborers, the carpenters, the masons, plumbers, the security team in the organization who we work with day in and day out. They are also part of our stakeholders that we need to consult whenever some decisions are going to be made at the workplace. And then the clients who we are providing our service to, at some point in time, we need to also get in touch with them to know their specification, the scope of work, and then what they actually require of us at any point in time, so that this can also help us in our decision making. The general public or the community within which the organization operates. As I shared in my case, the initial case I shared with you before proceeding with the presentation, that we consulted the traditional council, and then they also, as part of tradition, poured libation in order for us to proceed with our project, because you can't leave any stone unturned. Without the support from these traditional councils, sometimes the organization, your foundation is shaky in the particular community. So here, if the chief or the leaders are in tune or aligned with your operation, in terms of any member of the community who wants to rise up and oppose you, the chiefs, others can actually bring that person to order. The contractors, these are people who at some point in time will be coming to your field or your site to deliver a service. And then in order for us to ensure that we don't leave them out, because when they come to site, they can do a thing or two that can affect your general work operation. So if we don't consult them in some decisions that we take, at some point, we don't normally succeed. We need to involve them as well. And then professional bodies that your organization is part of. The organization may be part of, for example, in Ghana, we have the National Safety Commission, we have the GSEP, and so on and so forth. If your organization is part of any of these bodies, they may also have regulations or certain requirements that you need to follow. So in this case, they become part of your stakeholders. So these are not just the end of the list. It can go on and on and on, depending on the scope of and what you do. So here are some few stakeholders that we can mention. In some extent, the spouses of the employees that we work with are even part of the stakeholders, because sometimes you need to consult them. All right. So that is on a broader scale. So at this point in time, we want to look at when stakeholder consultation is required. Now, when every organization wants to formulate a policy, like I indicated earlier, that the government have regulations concerning every aspect of, or every industry that is in the state. And then when you want to formulate a policy, it is up to you, the organization, to ensure that you are aware of the regulations that govern that particular policy, so that you can formulate your policy around that in order to be in compliance with the state. All right. So when formulating policies, it's very necessary that you look at the applicable legislation that is applicable. Yeah. All right. So we have health and safety decision making. So at my former workplace, we were buying a particular brand of nose masks. And then later we realized that compliance was very low, although that was one of the high risks that was in association with a particular task. And people were using this nose mask. So the easiest way is to punish people. Oh, they are not using it, so punish them, sack them. But as a health and safety person, you are more efficient when you always want to look at the root cause of why something is not being done or why something is being done. So upon further consultation, we realized that that particular nose mask that has been provided to the team is making it quite difficult for them to breathe whilst performing the tasks at the same time. So what we did was we assigned a manager. We have something called Walk in My Shoe, where we assign a manager to go to the level of a laborer to perform a task and then come up with his observation. So the manager performed the task and realized that yes, what they are saying was true. So this time around, in consultation with the artisans, we got the required nose masks that they felt comfortable with, and then we procured them. The initial mistake we did was, we need this PPE. We go to procurement and then they procure what they feel is, is cheaper, or what they feel is good for the workers. But the due diligence is done. You consult the workers on what they need, because at the end of the day, they are the ones you are serving. All right. So we shouldn't underestimate the involvement of our regular workers that, when it comes to decision makings. When you buy a new machine, or you want to buy tools, or there is a change in design, we call something management of change. Change is generally difficult, all right? Nobody wants change. If you are comfortable with something, you want to stick with that. But in order to manage this change effectively, you need to make sure that everyone is in line. And how do you make sure everybody is in line? By involving them in the decision-making process. So the third one that we want to look at is when you are formulating or introducing a work process. Now, I admit something to myself all the time, that I am just a health and safety professional. I am not an expert in carpentry. I am not an expert in machinery. I'm not an expert in machinery. The real expert are the people performing the task, all right? So in order for you to have a holistic work instruction drafted, you need to make sure that you are in consultation with the people, the experts actually performing the task, so that they can also come up with their views. And so doing, you can come up with the right statement for that particular job. When you're doing risk assessment, now I want to ask a question, participants. What is the first step in risk assessment? I trust majority of us have done this course over and over and over. I'd like to ask, what is the first step in conducting a risk assessment? Anyone? Anyone?
The hazardous substances.
Okay, looking at what your hazards are, right? Excellent.
Yeah.
So we want to identify our hazards so that we can, at the long run, know what control measures we want to put in place. Now, who are the first-hand people you can get this information from? It is from these people who are performing the task. One thing that I don't find attractive about health professionals is the fact that they sit online and then download risk assessment from some company and then feel they can implement it in their workplace. Of course, you can get a sample, right? But that should be a guide. But in order for you to identify the real hazards, you need to consult with a team who are actually performing the task. They can help you or open your eyes to so many hazards that you even come across, right? So we need to ensure that we consult the key persons whenever we are performing such a task. Now, the other one is when we are conducting an incident investigation. You can't conduct an incident investigation without, and I'll emphasize without, the involvement or the consultation with the people who are actually on the field, who know the work processes better, who are actually experts in what they are doing. Okay, so I would also here want to emphasize that sometimes you might need the assistance of a third-party organization who are also experts in a particular aspect of the operation, who can also help you in your incident investigation in order to get the right control measures implemented next time. So it's not only the employees we are looking at here, we're also looking at other, it could be a governmental agency or it could be a non-governmental agency. They can also actually help you in this incident investigation process. So at this point, they are also part of your stakeholders. And then when there is a health and safety training or meeting, such as toolbox meetings and safety committee meetings, etc. Here again, I would say that safety personnel should desist from the temptation of wanting to be seen all the time. All right. Sometimes the training to be done by the supervisor or appoint a laborer in the workplace to lead some of these meetings. And then you would know that they will also come up with a different perspective that can make you know that, okay, so this is what is actually going on and this is what needs to be done. So when you are formulating your health and safety strategy, you have a broader perspective. Sometimes safety personnel only lead safety meetings and no wonder it becomes boring sometimes and people don't want to participate. You need to involve your team. Avoid the temptation of being seen or being heard all the time. Okay. So having gone through when stakeholder consultation is required, we will also want to spend some time to look at the benefits, because if we don't know the benefits, how are we going to actually practice it? So here we are saying that it boosts employees' morale and involvement in health and safety at work, as the workers will feel they are part of the solution. This one, there is no hard and fast rule about it. It's just a human feeling. Anytime you are involved in a decision-making process, you feel valued, you feel important as a human being, and then it boosts your morale whenever you are at the workplace. It also prevents organization from getting in trouble with the law. Here, I said it early on that a high-profile personality wanted to take us on because he felt we have blocked a part of the road that is shorter for him. And he was willing to take us on, so we were able to prove that we have done our due diligence. So in this case, we avoided being taken on by the law. So next time, whenever we want to ensure that we have done our due diligence. We have looked at all the applicable practices that needs to be considered. We need to ensure that effective stakeholder consultation has been done. And then when we do that, we are going to get away, or we are going to avoid being chased by the law to do the right thing. Now, this picture may seem familiar with to a lot of us. Whenever a safety person is coming, he is like a policeman. People now tend to start running, or they start to do the right thing, or they start to change the way of the way they are working. Here, we want to ensure that we limit the safety policing that we do on site. As a matter of fact, anytime people feel you are policing them at the workplace, it's actually a sign of negative safety culture at the workplace. As a safety personnel, your job is not to police at the workplace. Your job is that of a consultant. You always want to look at what is not working and what is working, and then you want to reinforce things. People should not be running away when they see you. And how do you avoid that? Whenever you involve them in decision making and they feel they are part of it, they know, and then they don't have to run whenever you are coming. It minimizes workplace incident and ill health. Whenever people know what they are doing, they are aware of the hazards that they are handling at any point in time. And then they know the control measures that need to be implemented. Incidents are less recorded. And all of us can testify to the fact that whenever we have less incidents being recorded at the workplace, apart from you, the safety person, that you have worked at the place without an accident, the organization also benefits in terms of cost. We all know how expensive accidents can be. All right, so in terms of cost, we don't pay much money into compensations and then into making sure that injured persons are taken care of, or rehiring a different employee. So in this case, the organization benefits in terms of money. And then greater worker commitment to health and safety through better understanding of decisions. I like this quote from Benjamin Franklin. He says, "Tell me, I forget. Tell me, I remember. Involve me, I am committed." Anytime people are involved, please do not forget this. That anytime people are involved, they feel they are committed. So they feel valued, and then their commitment level is also increased. Opportunities for learning through sharing information, concepts, and then ideas. I'll go back to what I said, that you, the safety officer or the safety person at the workplace, you don't know it all. So when there is a constant engagement with this team that you are working with, or these stakeholders, you have a broader perspective of how things are being done, and then you have more information, and then they share ideas with you. By so doing, whenever you are formulating a procedure or you are drafting a work process, you are working from a place of broader perspective. And in this case, it makes you more efficient as a health and safety person. And then there is compliance to health and safety rules on site. Generally, people do not like rules. Don't do this, don't go there, don't sit here. People don't like that generally. Whenever they are part of the decision making, they know why this rule is being instituted, and then they can apply. All right. So this cycle is true when there is an effective or adequate stakeholder participation or consultation. Safety culture improves at the workplace, and then safety performance also increases, or it also improves. And the anti-clockwise rule is true. When there is a poor or low stakeholder participation, safety culture becomes, almost negative. There is negative safety culture, and then that also sort of brings down the safety performance of the organization. Take this seriously. There is a healthier working environment and increase in productivity. Anytime people are working happy, work goes on, and then at the end of the day, we are able to meet our targets, and then productivity is also increased. Employees are willing to give information and feedback due to high level of trust. Now, anytime anybody feels valued, anytime you go to them, they are with open hearts. And then you get the feedback from them that you want. There is a wider source of ideas gathered about issues in the workplace, which results in good decision making. So this sort of summarizes the whole benefit that about. Then whenever adequate stakeholder consultation is being done, there is a wider source of ideas, and then we make good decisions that affect everyone in the organization, not for the negative, but rather for the better. Okay, so these are a couple of benefits that we can look at when we are talking about stakeholder consultation. I believe you have more that you want to share. Please let us know. Use the chat box, and then I'll be glad to know how this has benefited you, your organization. Okay. So at this point, we want to look at the how. How to conduct stakeholder consultation. Consultation here requires a lot of skills and then tactics. You need to look at the time that this consultation is being done, the place that the consultation is being done, who is doing the consultation, and then how. I said that it's not every time that you, the safety person, has to be seen or has to be heard. When you come to my organization, sometimes I ask my general manager to consult with the team, because I believe that if he goes there, because of his profile or his persona, people are going to give audience to him, and then we will get the feedback that we want. Sometimes you can also delegate the supervisor, knowing well that the employers or the people that work under the supervisors respect them more, and then they are more familiar with him. Unlike a new face that is coming to consult them about an issue, they may not, or they may feel reluctant in opening up to you. So sometimes you also have to consider these dynamics, as in who is doing the consultation and then how you are doing it. So it can be in a group discussion. It can be face-to-face, because some people don't feel comfortable sharing their ideas in groups. So you can have it one-on-one. Some people also want to remain anonymous. So if you have a suggestion box at your workplace, all the better, because people want to sometimes share or give feedback without being seen or without being known. And it can also be done virtually. That is, if you're an organization that normally works, you use virtual platforms a lot. Virtually, sending a mail or via online meetings and so on and so forth. You can also consult them using questionnaires. So here, you have to look at the educational background of the people you are working with. It's not all the time that questionnaires are going to work. People cannot do them right. So like I said, how to conduct this consultation requires skills. You need to know the people you want to consult with, and then their level of, you can also consider their level of education or the relationship that they have with the other supervisors, so that you can make a decision as to how or which medium you are going to adopt. So let's step away a little bit and then look at some of the barriers, because we can't only talk about the benefit and not look at the barriers. Of course, there are some barriers when it comes to stakeholder consultation. Sometimes time and resource constraints. I shared about this extension project that we wanted to do. Now, the consultation with these stakeholders took 4 weeks. That's a month. And then the project actually took place for 2 weeks. So we used 4 weeks for consultation for a 2 weeks project. All right. So sometimes it's because of the time constraints. Some people, it becomes a barrier to some people for not doing this consultation stakeholders. And here I would want to say planning is key. You need to plan and then make sure that you are not catch up with time. Team unwillingness to participate. It is natural. Always expect people to open up to you whenever you go to them. Sometimes they may hesitate to participate or give you the information that you want. It's okay, you can try again next time. And then diverse opinions. Here, whenever you are doing consultations, a lot of people are going to come in with it. All right, people are going to say they are going to go for option A, some are going to go for option B, and so on and so forth. But it is up to you to strike the balance, all right? And then here too, you want to also make sure that you don't make people take offense, because somebody might feel, I suggested this and it was not taken or it was boycotted. So you need to also here make sure that you are able to strike a balance and then ensure that the team are in agreement. And then opportunity for individuals to drive personal agenda. In one of my former companies, we were looking at how we can get workers to come to work early. All right, that was the problem. Workers were not coming to work early, so we wanted to find out how we can prevent that or how we can find solution to that. And then this opened for other employees to come up with other grievances about how their salaries are not enough and so they can't take taxis and so on and so forth. So at the end of the day, the actual problem was left alone, and then people were now coming in with their personal agendas. So sometimes when you are doing stakeholder consultation, you really need to be focused. Other than that, you are going to be swayed off, and then at the end of the day, the real problem will still be left hanging. And then political interest. This is so true. If your organization is at loggerhead of a political party, some organizations may be seen as they belong to party A or they belong to party B. So if their opposing party is in power, sometimes they can stretch you a little bit because of these political interests. So we also have to be careful with some of these dynamics. All right. So these are some barriers that have been identified from personal experience or from, through my 7 years experience as health and safety practitioner. If you also identified any barrier, please let us know. I'll be glad to know. You can send us a message in the chat box and we'll be happy to read them. Okay. So now I want to share some few tips as to how an HSE person can conduct an effective stakeholder consultation. I have personally used these tools or these tips, and it has helped me over the period. So here we go. Identify the right or the key stakeholder to engage at each point. So once you are able to identify the right person to consult at each point, you have done half of the job. Because whenever you engage the wrong people, you are going to be thrown off your course. So here, you want to be careful. You know the right stakeholders you want to engage at each point in time. Keep a simple, clear, and consistent communication. So here, you also want to make sure that the message you are sending across or the problem statement you are sending across is clear and people understand what is required of them or what feedback is required of them. Make your communication simple, clear, and then be consistent. Don't say this one time and then go back to another thing the next time. Be consistent. Consistency is key here whenever you are communicating with people. Then one other aspect is also to ensure that you be a good listener. Don't only listen to answer, but then listen to understand. How do you know you have understood what you are getting from your team? An example, if I get you correctly, you mean A, B, C, D. Am I correct? Or is that right? So that the people can affirm that you are right, or they can put it the right way. Okay, so here, make sure that you're a good listener. You open your ears attentively to listen to what is or the feedback you are being given. And then present a clear vision and objective, right? The team that you are consulting with needs to know who you are as an organization, what you do as an organization, and what you want to achieve with the consultation that you are having with them. So at the end of the day, you can actually mark if you are able to meet your objective or not. All right, so here, make sure that your vision and your objectives are clear, and then the team can also actually follow through with that. Ask open-ended questions. Ask open-ended questions. We should desist from asking questions that would make people only answer yes or no. An example of open-ended question could be, team, I have realized that over the period, compliance to, the usage of helmets, an example, is very low. How do you think we can improve on this? So this is an open-ended question. You are not making sure that people answer with a yes or no, but here you are giving room for them to also come up with their views. All right, so open-ended questions here are very, very important. Give room for a team to also share their experiences and give feedback. All right, don't hinder people from talking, or sometimes you address somebody as a troublemaker. So anytime he lifts his hands, you want to avoid him, you want to prevent him from talking. No, that is not how stakeholder consultation needs to go. You always have to make sure that you give room for people to share their thoughts. By so doing, you get a different perspective. And then the last key point, making sure that there is integrity. You, the safety person conducting the person conducting the stakeholder consultation on your behalf, has integrity. People have trust for him, and people know that he's somebody who they can open up to. If people open up to you and then you go and then disclose them.
This boy now, outside slapping me.
Hello, I'm getting a feedback from someone. So if people have a hint of no integrity or of no trust me, you are not going to get the feedback that you want. So it is important that you be a person of integrity. If you say you do this, make sure that you follow through with your words. And then by so doing, people have trust in you, and then they can open up to you anytime you go to them for an information. So here are some few key tips that I have used personally as I indicated, and it has helped me over the period. And I hope that when you adopt these points, you can also, it can help you in your area of work. So this brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you very much, and I am grateful to you all for listening attentively. And I know you are going to come up with your